Do you need healing or do you need coaching? That's going to be my short talk for today. I have a few minutes. Welcome, friends. I'm happy to be here. My voice is back. I was a little bit under weather. I think many of us have been going through some interesting experience. I always look at those as upgrades. Of course, I can also see the proof of that in my, using the tools of astrology. But even without seeing the astrology, if you have a very strong intuitive guidance, you'll know that those new, hi Laura, it's good to see you, those waves of challenges that we sometimes receive, they can be either bringing us down or they can be an invitation to move to a more embodied state of being where we feel more in alignment with our purpose, our gifts, and also with the people in our life. So the topic today, Laura, is do you need healing or do you need coaching? And I see this because I'm kind of in both fields, and I can see that sometimes people make choices that are not the best for them considering their state of living. So for example, people who actually need more healing take on coaching too early, and coaching has a tendency, it's more of an fire energy, it's more of an air energy, and it requires a lot of self-work. It requires a lot of direction and movement forward. And when person who needs more healing and they're not fully, in that place of nurturing themselves, they can feel burned out by coaching. They can feel eventually disappointed by coaching. But it's not coaching itself that is wrong, is that they chose it not in the best time, because you need to know how to channel your resource before you go into coaching. On the opposite side, when it comes to healing, this is where if we feel burnt out, if we feel like we may have this desire, like, oh, I want to create something, I want to manifest something in my life, but we don't have a strong foundation specifically with oneself, and we go into coaching and then we kind of get lost because we get all of this different advice, and these people do this, these people do that, do this meditation, and then we create an environment for ourselves that's actually very hostile because we don't have that self-knowledge, and we get into a place where we're pulled by other people's directions, what works for them, and eventually we fall through because we don't know what's right for us. And so that's where the separation comes in, the healing or the coaching. And I want to give a couple of pillars to help you, wherever you are, or maybe the people that you work with. You can take a look at this from this perspective and see what's better. One, I want to say that healing is not something that once I'm going to be fully healed, then I'm going to be doing my, whatever purpose work. No, I mean, healing is cyclical. It's very idealistic to think that you will ever be done with it. And I don't think it should be a goal on its own, right? Because we focus on healing only so that we can move in the direction that we desire. And it's usually cyclical in the sense that we come into, we have a foundation, and that foundation, we build the foundation through healing, right? Foundation meaning your inner core, your inner knowing, your inner guidance. You kind of, you're not pulled by other people's energies. You know yourself, and you have this self-soothing mechanism, whatever that's built in that you found for yourself that will work in the times of tension, stress. And then we go into coaching to use, because now we have that resource, we can start using that resource in the direction that we desire. And that's when we have help with the coach to create goals and be accountable for those goals, etc., etc. But hold on, I lost my train of thoughts. And then when we come into the place of manifestation, that now we used whatever the foundation we created previously, and now we use that foundation to create something new. And now the foundation is a little bit too small. And so we go into the next stage of healing so that we can expand the foundation. And then we can go into the manifestation again. You see how it happens, right? Those are cyclical. Coaching, healing, coaching, they kind of go one after another. I'm not saying that you cannot do those two in parallel, but usually the focus in your life would be either on one, either on expanding your foundation, that inner foundation that can hold a new reality, or building a new reality, being in the world, physically manifesting and creating. Yes. You're saying that you used to, I'm assuming the healing used to be a destination that you were trying to arrive, right? That's what you're saying. Because of course, in the physical realm, yes, there is a destination, but in the inner realm, there's no destination. It's a constant journey. It's a constant expansion. And I don't even, maybe healing is not the best word for it, but it's maybe more coming into wholeness with oneself, right? Because at one time, but eventually we come into this kind of state of, okay, I'm more or less like innerly stable, but now there's more and more of wholeness that I can come to, and that comes through the inner journey, right? So here's the little bit of the distinction that I want to make for those of you who may be wondering if you should go into healing or coaching and use that help. So were you too much on the inhale, or were you too much on the exhale lately? So if you were in the state where you were really too, on the inhale and holding a lot of breath, meaning that you were contracting, you were in tension, you were building, you were moving, maybe you're in a state of burnout, where it's like all about the goal, maybe even doing things that you were not, not fully like meant for you, or you basically run into the state of purposelessness and maybe a slight depression, where you start to question, what was this all for? Does it make any sense? Is this really what I desire? What am I doing over here? Sometimes we come into that state where like, who are all these people? What is all this life? I'm living the life that's not mine. So if you're in that state, or somewhere around there, right, that purposelessness, burnout, questioning the reality that you have around, that means this is the time of going inward. This is the time of healing, of coming into wholeness. And if you are on the other side, where maybe you've been in too much of an exhale, too much of like all the focus on the inner, center, and being in peace with oneself, and, meditating in the cave and doing your spiritual practices, whatever it is, but you haven't been creating enough. And you come into the place where maybe you feel a sense of like anxiety and worrying, like there's a state of like, I'm not doing what I need to be doing. And that maybe I'm not doing what I need to be doing, like even some physical things, like, like you're not keeping up with your bills, or it's not necessarily just the purpose, but eventually it's also the state of, maybe I'm not creating what I already know I can be creating right now. I know I have the resource, but I'm not using that resource. That's when coaching is more appropriate. Do you see the difference? One is inward. When you need more resources, you're going inward. When you have a lot of resource and now you want to build something, then you go into coaching. Then you seek for that support. I speak of this from a perspective which I think I find, I have a unique perspective, because my work is sort of like, I call it intuitive coaching. So it's a blend of the two. And I because I like to bridge the two sides, always science, spirituality, material, spiritual, and at the same time coaching and healing world. So I work with clients in both of those, and I blend those two. Thank you, Laura. You are as well. You know that. So because I work in those two fields, or in my case it's one field, I can kind of sense that. And I've been taking on coaching before I needed more of the wholeness, and I've also been too much into, you know, the healing and not taking on the proactive steps. So I've been into those two sides, and I also have witnessed people being burned out by either one or another and being disappointed. And that's the worst thing. It's like, no, it's not about the people that you work with, that they're doing something wrong. Is that maybe the screening process wasn't thorough enough for them to help you identify whether this was the right time for you. And oftentimes when we go into, you know, sale, and a lot of it is done on fire energy, a lot of it is done on intention and stimulating your desire and stimulating your dream, but it's not always that you're ready to pursue your dream. I know that sounds very like, really? No, like I have to take more time with myself. Sometimes you do, but it's also that you have a very strong foundation that you can actually build on something, that it's not pile of, you know what I'm saying, that you're trying to build on, because it's going to sink anyways. So, there's another thing that I want to say from my perspective, because I work, like I said, with both of those, with people who are in kind of both fields, and I oftentimes bridge those two, and I help people to first lay the foundation and also discover their purpose. And then I also, that's in my rebirth program, where I work with mostly women who want to kind of come into that state of centeredness and wholeness with themselves and their feminine essence, and also identifying what's that's so unique about them, what makes their purpose, what are they here to create, what will feed their soul, right? So it's both intuitive coaching, it's both healing and coaching. And I also do intuitive marketing. That's for those who are already like, okay, I know what I'm creating. I have something that I want to bring into the world. I want it to reach people. I want my audience, my crowd to find me, the people who are meant to receive it from me to find it. And in this case, marketing is becoming our spiritual practice. Why is it a spiritual practice? Because we tend to have a lot of feeling like, oh my God, am I good enough? Am I good enough to offer this? What are people gonna think of me? Or maybe, you know, maybe we also sometimes have this thinking pattern where that if, you know, whatever, if I'm meant to be doing this, my crowd will find me, my people will find me. But that is taking off our responsibility from actually understanding that, no, it's my responsibility to make sure my crowd will find me, because I need to be visible to them. I need to speak in a way that will understand them. I need to look in the way that will make them understand that I am their person. And this is where the spiritual practice happens, because that, you know, from the point A where you are to point B where you need who you are and how you speak and how you present and what you do so that your audience understands that they are your people. That's the spiritual practice, because we go through a lot of inner obstacles to get to it, all in the state of devotion to that whatever that's floating through us, that is meant to float to, you know, and meet their people. So from these two perspectives that I'm taking, right, and working with these different types of goals that people have for themselves, I can say at the bottom of it is that we have to look at usually if you're not in a place where you feel satisfied and fulfilled and you feel like you're creating something, it's you have to look at where are the kind of holes that your energy is being drained from, and those are usually our insecurities, you know, all of those kind of like healing things that we need to keep going, because we're keep kind of working through, because we lose a lot of energy. Say we place our, you know, confidence on the judgments of people or what we produce. That's like the basic, the very simple one. But there's of course deeper one, like ancestral patterns that we run into, that we keep recreating without even realizing, when we don't use our sexual energy, and it's being drained. So that's one, right? Where we draining our energy. And another one, of course, right, because you look at yourself, you're a vessel, so you either drain your energy, and you may also not be directed to your source. The source is the one that's deep within, or the earth, or God, or whatever you want to call it, but it's that source that is not through people, right? It's not through, again, like I said, and that source is also related to like the bigger question, why? Like, why am I here? What am I doing? Like, what's this life about? Is for me. Well, who am I in this life that I'm creating? And so when I don't have that clear understanding of who am I and what am I creating, then I would be feeling lost. I would be like a leaf that's on the wind, blown by the wind, and that's not connected to the tree, right? It just goes wherever the wind blows it. And that's not fun either. So we need to patch the holes so that the energy that we receive through the source doesn't kind of go out. And we also need to find the source and connect to the source and make that our main channel of energy. So I don't know how much this was a conceptual or practical, but hopefully you kind of get something from it. Of course, this is what I do every day. This is what I think of. This is what I live by. This is what I breathe by. And so if this is something that you feel in alignment, then we can talk more about this. And within this frame of work, I do my work. I offer my services, and I'm very honored to be in a position to be doing that and to continue spreading that awareness so that you can come into the state of basically self-sufficiency. Because my goal is to see individual sovereign beings who are connected to their divinity, who are connected to their unique spark, and who are creating from that spark, even if it's something that I don't understand. But of course, with the people that I work with, we usually, like attract like. So I tend to work with the creatives, with creative entrepreneurs, with artists, with people who have something, healers or therapies that kind of like to go deep into working with the consciousness within themselves and also inspire that elevation of consciousness in other people. So, but everyone has their own, and sometimes it's like we just have to trust that whatever they do, we need to trust that the unique source that they are connected to, the divinity, is speaking through them. And even if I don't understand what exactly they're doing and why, even sometimes it may feel contradicting, we have to find that place of trust in the overall whatever Godhead, that this process, whatever is happening, is leading them also into the place of their wholeness and also bringing wholeness in the world. But I'm sensing I'm going a little bit too far already. So before I lose you, this was kind of my main point, is that we need to come into the place of sovereignty, in a place of self-sufficiency, so that you are not you don't feel like you are dependent on one therapist and you're seeing the therapist for many years, or you're dependent on one coach. Our goal is to give you the tools. At least my goal is to give you the tools. Yes, we have to be in the field for some time for the consciousness to shift and for you to start seeing different perspectives. But eventually, it's for you to take on and to go and create your own whatever empire and build your own mountain. And every child has to grow up and become an adult, so a parent has to let them go. So I think I really want to see more of that in the world. I am lacking that in the healing world, in the coaching world, in whatever therapy world. I do have a little bit of a tick when I see people working with one person for many years. I think it comes to disadvantage. It can create codependent relationships and other things that I think it's good to take breaks and have diversity in whatever people we're working with. But so I'll end it here. Thank you so much for being with me. And I hope this gives you some new perspective, and also enjoy your day. Much love. Well.